Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's going on? What's going on? It is Jamil Jude, and welcome to episode 4 of the True Colors podcast. Today, we have a really fun episode for you. This is for all the arts administrators out there. Today, we're going to have a chat with Development Director Letitia Ellerson. Letitia Ellerson is our Development Director and has been a long time administrator with us over at True Ellerson joining us today on the True Colors podcast. So please get ready for an amazing, fun episode where we talk about, how do you fundraise in financially fraught times? We all know that the world has been changed and affected by this coronavirus, but theater companies and nonprofit organizations are still trying to do their work. They're still trying to figure out how to keep their staff employed, how to keep their programs running in the communities that they served with the programs that they have come to enjoy and in many cases really need. So today I'll talk with Development Director Letitia Ellerson. So let's go ahead and get Letitia on the phone here to join us right now. Again, you are listening to True Colors Podcast, episode number 4, where we're talking about fundraising in financially fraught times. Hey, Letitia.
Hey.
Yeah. Good stuff. So the technology is working. It seems like we got it going on. I'm just gonna. My setup is good. Good. Hey, man. Good to see you. Good to hear your voice. And I know that we're really gonna have a really fun chat. So Letitia, man, let's just get it started. Tell our viewers a little bit about yourself. How'd you get to be Development Director at True Colors?
Wow, long journey. So I started performing as an actress at the age of 8 when I was in Houston, Texas. Fast forward to coming to Atlanta, Georgia, ATL. I went to Pellowbrook High School, PHS, which is a Magnet Performing Arts High School here in Atlanta. And from there, I said, hey, I'm going to do this professionally, right? So went up to DePaul University, a theater school, graduated with a BFA, and I acted for a few years professionally in Chicago. And, just like any other actor, you have to have a daytime job, right? And so what I decided, you got to figure out how to pay the bills.
Hey, man, you got to figure out how to pay the bills. You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And I knew from the get, I was not going to be good at being a waitress. So that was not going to happen. And so I did some temp work. Then I landed a temporary position at United Way. And it was during their combined federal campaign where you do fundraising to United States postal offices, bulk centers, that sort of thing. And so I started off in fundraising at United Way, where I would just encourage people to give and donate and participate in philanthropic giving. And I would speak to large crowds, like 300 plus, right? It's a bulk facility for United States Post Office workers. And there I captivated the audience, right? I knew how to do that. I'm a performer, I'm an actress. And so I just used that skill set to fundraise and get people excited about donating to United Way. And then fast forward to when I moved to Atlanta a few years later, I was like, okay, I'm not able to daggone get a job as an actress here. So what am I going to do? It was hard to book. I went on a bunch of auditions, and then I saw an open position at True Colors. And so I thought, hey, I kind of know what I'm doing a little bit of fundraising, and I know about theater. So let me put the two together. So that's how I got to True Colors.
That's good stuff, man. And it's been a blessing to have you here. I know I've only had a chance to work with you for 3 years, but your history with True Colors runs deep. And we're really excited by that. So, development, I think for those of us who are in the arts administration world, we know what that term means, but several of us who aren't on the fundraising side or aren't on the administrative side of theater may not actually know what the job entails. Can you talk to us a little bit, again, in brief, what does it mean to be a development director? What does it mean to be a fundraiser at an organization?
Yeah, so at a nonprofit organization, you are raising the funds. And so depending on what structure what nonprofit you are in, you're going to have certain buckets. And at True Colors, we have the corporate bucket, we have the foundation bucket, we have the individual giving bucket, we have the government bucket. In other nonprofit entities, the percentage and the ratios vary, right? There are some health and human service organizations where most of their money is coming from the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have to look out to the general public for their funds and their dollars. And so at True Colors and Arts and Culture, you know, we touch all of those. And depending on if you're a theater color, from a white institution, those percentages vary drastically as well too.
Yeah. So you have to ask people to support an organization.
Yeah.
You have to ask people for money. How'd you get good at the ask? Like, you know, for any of us who have had to hit up friends to support their projects, or even to ask their friends to come and see their shows, like that can be difficult. How'd you learn how to ask?
Yeah, so the ask is can be a difficult thing for some people, right? If they're thinking about it in the traditional sense of I need money, and so I'm going to ask you for that money, right? But if you flip it and you're really thinking about relationships, and you're really focusing on what we have in common, what the person has in common with the person, with the asker has in common with the person that has that pot of money. What can you do to relate to that individual that kind of calms you down as a person and say, hey, we have a mutual beneficial relationship that we're trying to start, right? And so you may be giving me money to help me start this project, do X, Y, and Z, but you have priorities as a giver. And so what priorities can I give, what can I do to give unto you based upon the things that I'm going to do with my project? How can I serve you with my project? And you are serving me with the money, you know? And so thinking about it more of a give and take type of relationship can help an individual. But for me, I think what makes it easy, at least for True Colors, are for me to go from being an actress to asking for money at True Colors is the fact that I'm a storyteller already. And so it's important to be able to tell the right story, to share the need in the situation when you're doing and asking, and being able to convey that to that individual who could be interested or may not even be interested yet about giving. Yeah.
You know, the things I liked about it is that you talk about kind of switching it up from being merely transactional, like, hey, you know, I have this product, you have the capital, let's exchange. But talking about building a relationship, you're saying like, how can we be in conversation with each other? How can we be in community with one another? Where in any type of community, one has one thing, we have another thing, and then the exchange of goods is what supports us all. So I really like hearing you talk about it that way, and I always love that. You know, it's like, yeah, you're right. We aren't just, you know, hand and hat out asking for funds. We are saying like, you know, be in community with us, develop a relationship with us, and let's try to find some things that are mutually beneficial.
Yeah, it definitely switches the paradigm up, you know, and so it's not just focus on you as an individual. And then it also, I think as a fundraiser, I just don't see a bunch of dollar signs walking by me, right? Mm-hmm. I hate that feeling. It breaks my soul just to see an individual as a dollar sign. But how can I relate to that person and say, hey, you're not a dollar sign to me. You're actually a person that is thriving, that has thriving financially, thriving in what they want to give back to community, and how can I connect them with community, like you just said. And that's a great thing about our work at True Colors, that we're just not about the art that's on stage, which of course needs to be funded, but we're also about how can we connect people in community through civic engagement. Yeah,
great. So, you know, you've had an opportunity as an actress to work at a couple of different organizations, but of course you have colleagues around the country that you're in communication with. You know, shout out to TCG and the Spark Leadership Program and things like that. When you are in conversation with your colleagues, what are you noticing are some of the differences in the work that you do at True Colors and supporting our programs to maybe some of the challenges that you see at some, your colleagues have at other organizations?
Yeah, so I definitely see similarities in that arts and culture in general during this time period, during COVID-19, and the response that needs to happen in the health sector, in the private sector, there's a difficulty that we're all going to face, right? As an arts and culture organization. And so what I've noticed outside of that, this time and this space that we're in right now, what's difficult is being able to fundraise for the individuals, right? And so and also how other foundations view smaller nonprofits, True Colors, also other nonprofits. And so how do you get in front of them, right? How do you tell the story so that they want to be in relationship with you? And so being able to navigate that is difficult, and you have to figure out different creative ways. What I spend a lot of time doing, since originally I was a 1.5 development department. Now I'm a one-person development department. And so what's difficult is being able to spread yourself to a certain extent, but it's still important to do your research, right? And so I think that is the shift that is necessary to really get to the next level, is to do your research for the individual, do your research for the foundations that you can be in relationship with, that makes sense. And don't spend your time on building relationships or trying to build relationships with people who don't want to have a relationship with you, right? And so I think that is one of the major differences that I have found, especially being in a close-knit community, theater community like we have in Atlanta. Sometimes you try to go after the big dogs, right? That you see on everyone's list of funding, but sometimes you actually just go back and look at your own constituency and just say, hey, let me find the people that already are in relationship with me, and let me build and cultivate and spend that time on this sector of people, instead of always trying to reach up to those that everyone is trying to grab and build relationships with the individuals or foundations or corporations.
Yeah, I think that's such a key, and you're really dropping this gem right here. Is that, like, you can get into that rat race and chase the big name foundations, both national and local, like a lot of organizations attempt to do. But what's the success rate there? Like, what is the return on that investment? And if you're going after it every, year or whatever, when funders, their priorities change, individuals and corporations and governments and things like that. So do you have to go and now replenish those, or can, like what you said, like, hey, let's go find the people who like what we do, who have some commonalities, some familiarities, some similarities, and let's build on that, as opposed to going out, like you said, and just chasing after what everyone else is chasing after.
Yeah, it becomes, for smaller organizations, it becomes, that's the challenge, right? That's the challenge. And you also sometimes have to fight your board and leadership when it comes down to that, that's not easy. But it's the truth. You just have to really be able to say, we've learned recently of building our stop list. Like, this is what I need to stop doing in order to be successful in this, right? And so ultimately, what are our mission goals? What are our strategic goals that we need to achieve? So we all have this common goal, and here are the things we need to stop in order to get to that, right?
Well, let's spend some time talking about that, because I've heard that your artistic leader gets really excited by some projects at times, and really wants to go and chase after certain projects. Talk about, like, what is it like working just in an organization, and how do you help set their priorities? Like, yes, that's great, and also talk a little bit about that process as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I remember in one of our staff meetings, we were saying it's not yes, but it's yes and, right? And so using that improv technique, that's important. And so in conversation and dialogue, when a person knows you're not completely shutting them down, but you want to build upon their idea, shift their idea, it makes it a lot easier to get to a commonality of what you need to do to reach whatever. Because we all have the same goal. We all want to thrive, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you get to that point, and the different strategies and techniques along the way is where we may differ. But with leadership and working with you, Jamil, love you, bruh. Was really good, though, I think, is that you're easy to talk to, right? And so you came to me, I think when you first came, you said, hey, I got this new Play Lab idea and I want to do it. I'm like, okay, show me what that looks like, right? And then you gave me your bullet points, right? And so I said, okay, great, this is a good start. And then I went with my grant writer. Shout out to Judy Anderson, love her. She also helps me. She's the 0.5 on the team. She helps me with writing grants where I don't have time. And so she helped me formulate thought process and figuring out what questions to really ask you to get to building out what that program looks like. And so the plus, what I would have to say, is giving your development staff time to work through all of the ideas, and don't think you're going to get that immediate return. And I just typically say you have to plan at least 18 months. You want to start a new program, you need to think of, you need to have at least 18 months before you want to hit play. There may be some really great opportunities that may happen, between when you have the idea and when you start the program, but you want to be able to figure out your strategy on how you want to sell it to your funders, sell it to individuals, and make sure also that in that time frame that the program is built out and it has the right infrastructure for the organization, especially when it's a new program. And so I think we were able to take our time in figuring that out, and I was able to hone the language as well too. Before we landed on a great sponsor, thank you, MailChimp, for supporting the new Play Lab.
Thank you, MailChimp.
Thank you, MailChimp. Before we were able to land MailChimp, we went through at least 4 other applications, right? And so I think, that's also an important factor to remember. That's why you need to think about 18 months, because you are figuring out who are the best people to be in a relationship with, and also fine-tuning that language to communicate the benefit of the new program that you're trying to launch.
Yeah, I really want to reiterate that, for artistic leaders out there, or, individual artists, creators, whomever, that, sometimes we have this idea, especially for those of us who work in nonprofit, that if we just dream up the idea, we're going to be able to implement it right away. But, even if you just chase those opportunity funds, like, it's going to be harder to sustain the funds, because again, funding priorities change, or the landscape changes. Who would have known we'd be where we are right now if you just really just chased it and you ready, fired, aimed. But the approach that you're talking about is, all right, let's get something in the pipeline, let's talk about it, let's analyze it from a couple of different ways, let's find new questions so that we can find ways to set it apart. And then set a long timeline so that when we actually are able to launch it, we can get the right funders behind it, who support and understand the vision. So as we move forward, that we have that much more, the probability of success is higher.
Yeah, definitely. It's so important. And I think it's a big exclamation point right now for funders when it comes down to trying to react quickly with the COVID-19 and the response, and making sure that money is out there. So it's not just coming from a government, it's also coming from foundations and corporate foundations and such, trying to support community. And I think what is important for organizations to definitely remember, don't try to fit yourself into that, the circle, like, don't try your square, don't try to fit in the circle just so that you can get that COVID-19 money, because you know what, we're really what's going to end up happening is that those funders are going to look back to you for those deliverables. You don't want to produce and start a program that you cannot attain those right deliverables that the funder is looking to reach. And so that's just like the old adage: do not try to create a program to get funding, right? And so I hope nonprofits aren't doing that. That's like a big red flag, you know.
Say that one more time for the people in the back, Letitia. Don't create, what'd you say?
Do not create programs just to get funding.
Amen. Listen, I'm telling y'all, for those of you all who who tuned in because you wanted some arts administration gems, man, Letitia is dropping them for you. Her years of experience in the development department, she knows what she's talking about. So Letitia, as someone who's worked in fundraising and development, you've seen a lot of ups and downs, both like the economy writ large, but hey, let's be real. Like, we are True Colors Theater. We are a small theater relative, where there are theaters in our community that are around 17 million. We are at 1.5, right? So so we are much smaller than some organizations. So we too have ebbs and flows. We don't sell a show. That's a huge hit to our budget. We miss out on funding opportunity. That's a huge hit to our budget. Can you talk about how you see this moment being so crucial for organizations, especially organizations of color, to be able to have a clear message to their funders about what they're doing and why it's important for them to be funded and supported?
Yeah, definitely. And what's also great about Atlanta and our community and nonprofit community, period, is that there's and I'm sure nationally people are seeing this, there are so many webinars out there right now, what to do and what not to do during this time when it comes down to funders and the relationships with your annual fund donors, your major donors. And so I would definitely suggest go seek out webinars and how allow all of that information that you digest to react and counterbalance with your gut instincts, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important when you're thinking about who we are as True Colors and being so small, and not just in True Colors, but any arts and cultural organization of color, we need to be able to articulate our message that that speaks to the urgency of now, but also shows what the future looks like as well too. So we can't just show the dire situation of now without also showing our patrons, our audience, whoever you're talking to, about the future. And that's a good point for anyone across the board. But in particular, if you're a small organization, you don't have a large group of people. And so you can continue to build strategic relationships within your small core and be able to say, hey, this is what we're doing, and this is what we want to continue to do to make sure that you're safe, that you know about our impact measures, and that you know how we can continue to do what's necessary to come back together when things get better in our world, And so it's about articulating that in different ways. And we've talked about it as True Colors. You can't just communicate something once and then think you're done. You have to continue to communicate in several different ways and several different channels before people actually digest it. That's also marketing as well too, right? You have to be able to show what's going on at different times.
Well, and I think, I think there was a time where artistic leaders would think that it was their own genius is the reason why their organizations succeeded. And then the converse to that was that they would also blame everyone else if the organizations did not succeed, right? Like, it was never the artist, the lead artist's fault if the organization didn't. It was the fundraising, it was the marketing or whatever. But one thing I'm really excited about, and I thank God every day, is that you all, as the True Colors team, are always thinking about how do we innovate? How do we think about ways to be nimble? Because of our size, everyone is a director level, right? Like, everyone is both the person doing the implementation, but also the person who's doing the long-term planning, right? So I think I get really excited because of the way in which you all, this thing hit. We had to start making some tough decisions, but everybody on staff's like, okay, hey, let's ideate this. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do that. How can we, and it's really, it's corny, you know, like in many ways, but like you guys, like you all are the magic that keeps True Colors moving forward and keeps us innovating, right? Like this True Colors podcast. I'd love to be able to say, like, oh, this was my idea, to find a way to connect to our audiences and keep them connected. But like, I mean, that idea came from staff. Like, how can we take advantage of the technology that's out there? So I just wanted, you know, to ask you, like, hey, so we have some couple of things on horizon, and it's been really fun to drop like these little secrets and things like that here on the podcast. So we'll do a little bit of that in a little bit. But you know, like, speak to this. Can you speak to this moment, and like, what are some of the things that are like exciting for an organization like ours, a nimble organization like ours, to take advantage of?
Well, like you said, the podcast is one thing. What I think also is great is to be able to speak directly to our patrons in other ways and wherever they like to be, right? And so we have some people who are just on email, but how can we move the needle and say, hey, yes, you're on email, but here's also a YouTube, because we you know, we may not have some patrons that want to be on social media, but here is a YouTube a special or a video that you can partake and learn from. Here are opportunities that relate to a future show that we're going to do. There are different ways that you can continue to share knowledge and share opportunities as well too. One thing that we are doing at True Colors, we have on our website advanced opportunities for people who are artists. If they need funding, need support, go to our website, truecolorstheater.org, and you can find resources for you, financial resources, resources where you can connect with community, and also individuals as well too. If you need support with in food or any type of resources, we've also collected that data and that information, and it's on our website. And so how can we continue to build community and show connection and show people that we care outside of just arts and culture, right? We're still human. We still have the need to do those simple things that's necessary. We need housing, we need food, we need water, right? So how can we support one another in those things at that time, as well as provide the opportunity to disengage? You know, mental health is so important right now as well too. And so we have a partnership with Emory Brain and Health. And so what we're going to be doing as well too is sharing those resources that they're providing to us, to our audience base, and say, hey, here are some resources on how you can make sure that you are mentally healthy at this time. And so I think it's all about just being human in the moment, you know, and not just thinking about yourself. And I think we do that excellently at True Colors. Yeah.
Yeah, man. You know, like you mentioned all the partners and all the resources and things like out there. Again, like, you know, the best job ever in the world is the one that I have. But, you know, it's really an extension where we have, as a company, bought into this idea that to thrive at the intersection of artistic excellence and civic engagement means to be responsive to what the community needs. And right now, yes, we need art, and we're going to continue to advocate for why we need art. But we need basic necessities. We need access to, you know, technology for students who are having to learn from home. We need access to food and to resources and to shelter. So what can we do as an organization to make sure that our communities get, you know, the information, get the resources that they have not, that we're able to get otherwise? So thank you, you know, again for sharing that. We have a question. I think it keeps us on track. So, how do you get your board and artistic leadership to work in tandem? Sometimes they feel separate, but they need to be on the same page. Absolutely. I mean, you know, like shout out to True Colors board, because our board is amazing. Like right now, they are digging in. They're helping us identify resources. We had some trouble with a PPP and making sure that we could apply for all the funds that are out there, so that you know, in moments where cash flow is insecure because we aren't having any paid programs and things like that, so that we have a little bit of some money so that we can make it through however long this lasts. I would say, and Leticia, I'm happy to hear what you have to say too. I think the biggest gift that my board has given me has been the space to share the vision. Every time we have a board meeting, I'll bring an artistic product there, whether it's part of the season announcement or a play that's coming up or the seating designers, the costume designer. Just want to share with the board some art so that they understand this is what we do. At True Colors, we are an art-focused organization. But then I also want to make sure that they are coming to our community conversations and our related readings so that they know how we are trying to live at the intersection. So because the board has been so responsive to what is it that we need, what is it that we want to be in this moment, it helps with the alignment. That's not to say that in moments of conflict that we all kind of go back into our bunkers, but we've been able to, because we have that shared space, we know we all are connected on what the goal is. Even when we disagree, it provides us an opportunity to say like, hey, y'all, let's just go back to the thing. And the thing is always the play. The thing is always the art. The thing is the intersection. So let's go back to that. Even when we diverge, let's just go back to the reason why we're both here.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And like you said, coming back to that thing is also coming back to who was at the table and creating the strategic plan. Going to tactical things, right? And so were all these board members there when we built this strategic plan? Were we all at the same page at that point? Yep. Where when the onboarding happened for these board members, was the board president involved and also the artistic leadership, the managing director, in sharing what these priorities are according to the strategic plan? And so it's I like to also go back and look at how we engage people, because board members are also donors, right? And so I think we also have to remember that these people are our highest level of advocates, and they're also should be major donors of the organization. So they have a high level of interest in the success of the organization. And so coming to the table and understanding that, are actually figuring out if that is why they're at the table as well too, because some people may not be at the table for those reasons. They may have completely different reasons, and just understanding what their reasons are. And so you can kind of squash the, if there may be animosity, there may be disagreements, like you said. And so knowing like why people are at the table, why are they invested in this organization, and finding that common ground, right? Like at that point, and it's just like how you would do for a donor as well too. What is the common ground? What do we have the common interest, like you mentioned? And then from that point, being able to build on there so that you can work collectively together. And another thing was popping into my head about relationships with the board members. I think it's interesting when we're talking about being in our feelings in certain moments, right? Because as the staff, as artistic leadership, you feel sometimes that the board is attacking your baby, right? Like, this is mine. You're attacking what I'm giving birth to and putting out into the world. And so getting in our feelings in that space, without allowing the history of whatever the relationship is to come forth, so that you can come to that commonality. I think it's also a lesson in how we relate to one another, just as much as it is as a business relationship. And because I think that is a great question, and a lot of organizations face that, right? Especially when you get to boards that are like 30 plus, right? How in the world can you continue without having a really clear understanding of why people are at the table, and using what's necessary from past history and relationships with that individual, and what you want your board to really look like. A lot of people may not even go in depth in having a skill grid chart of what they need in their board, from personality types to racial. It's not just about how much money a person has, right? You have this whole composite influential people that is necessary to run a board successfully. And so you need certain personality types that balance the other ones, right? And so you have to be understanding that that the result of that negative energy and that those issues are also the result of not having a balanced board, right?
Yep.
And that's how I like to look at it as well too. So even in those conflicts, I'm trying to improve the situation, just like you said. That's how you do it. But then also you need to take a step back and say, okay, how are we building this board, and what do we need to make sure as we get over this negative hump that we do what's necessary to build an effective board.
Yeah, man, shout out to the 2 board presidents that I've had while I've been at True Colors, Holly Furper and Janita Dew. Janita is our current board president, doing an amazing job. So thanks, Janita. Thank you, and Holly, for, you know, I mean, again, you all make my job super simple. It's good to be in alignment and agreement with those. So again, we teased a little bit that we're going to drop some news here on the podcast, a little exclusive and stuff like that. But we already started talking a little bit about it. But you know, let's shout out MailChimp for their support. Letitia, can you just tell us a little bit about MailChimp and the New Play Lab? Like, I'm happy to fill in on the artistic side, but just talk a little bit about this that relationship with MailChimp and why they wanted to support us in this New Play endeavor.
Oh my gosh, MailChimp, I heart you so much. Not only just
That's what the people do. I can't do it. I don't know how to do it. There it is.
You're okay.
I got
it. Not just as a funder, because we also honored them during True Colors Applause. They were our, I think it's, how they engage with community, I think is completely in line with how we engage with community. I think that's the main thing that gets me so excited about what they do. And I see them also as a model for other corporations locally and nationally in how they choose to engage with the community in funding. So they have a sector of employees who, and this is normal or typical, that corporate foundations, they may have employees who choose who's going to get awarded whatever the funding is. But with MailChimp, they allow their team to actually learn about these organizations, go into the community, volunteer, and hear presentations about what is really the needs in the community. And so they are allowing their team, their staff, their employees to learn about what's necessary to give back. And so I think that type of knowledge is so wonderful as they approach this decision making, who gets money, right? And so I love how they also engage with their employees and their staff, and how they have a beautiful corporate environment. Like when you walk in on the floor, you have this open space, you have shared space. You've been there, you love it too. I love their open space. Just like for who they are, I love MailChimp, right? And then how we have this relationship over the time, from me meeting with Lane to now having my primary contact be Josh. Just being able to build relationship with them and sharing our struggles, sharing our triumphs, sharing our vision for the future, and having them also connect with you specifically, Jamil, when you came in as well too, to share your vision and their other True Colors, just allow us to go to the next level and for them to slowly buy in, right? It wasn't like an immediate, okay, wonderful, that's great, but continue that engagement, continue the sharing the stories of the vision and our strategy for that vision as well too. Allow them to come in so naturally to where we were like, oh great, here it is. This is a connection that is necessary for a funder with an institution. And so it was just a beautiful way for us to position ourselves to get the funding for the New Play Lab. And the New Play Lab is going to be a great idea that I'm gonna let you pitch, Jamil, because you'll be able to share in a more nice way. What I love about the new Play Lab, I'll just give my thoughts about it, is that it's about us being a home for our creators who who may not have been able to not only just share their work, but also have not been able to share their work in a culturally specific environment, right? And so having True Colors be that leader locally and nationally, I think will definitely shift national sphere of what we're doing in theater.
Yeah, man. The New Play Lab, man, is, for me, it is what a theater company like True Colors can do, right? We are uniquely positioned. Here we are in Atlanta, where we are in a majority Black city. Our audiences are majority predominantly Black, right? Like we have like 85, 90, whatever, depending on the day that you got here. I mean, I remember when Jocelyn Mio came to town to see closing night of Schoolgirls and African Mean Girls play. Jocelyn said, yo, I have never seen that many Black people in a theater ever. And she talked about sitting in her car and just seeing, Black men. And that night we had the Deltas coming out and seeing all the Deltas in their crimson and cream. Shout out to the Deltas coming into the theater. She was like, it is so important for her as a Black playwright, as a Black woman playwright, to see the stories that she's writing about reflected directly into the audience. So when I hear writers like Jocelyn or Tori Sampson talking about the challenges around developing plays in predominantly white institutions, when you're writing for people of color, I'm like, okay, well, we got that. We got the audience of color. They know theater. They desire, and they'll let you know if the play ain't good. They have no problem telling you. They come find
Call
me.
and response.
Yeah, they come find me in the audience if we don't hit the mark. So it's like, well, and my entire life up until this moment has been about new play development. So it's like, here's a perfect opportunity to join the two. So with the New Play Lab, what True Colors is going to do is that we're going to set out to reverse a trend in the American theater that we've seen over the last 10, 20 years, where we're having writers of color, but specifically Black playwrights, writing plays and being commissioned by predominantly white institutions, but maybe having to change the way they write or translate it for an audience for it to be widely accepted, but still not hitting the communities that they want to hit. We're saying that True Colors, we have the resources, both human resources and the artists that we work with, and also in the audience that we work with. And now, thanks to MailChimp and others, that we have the capital to be able to commission writers to develop new plays so that we can put out into the canon plays that are written and developed inside of Black spaces, and then can go out into the world and then have regional lives, as opposed to what has been happening, small elitist, larger resource, predominantly white institutions are creating plays that are then making their way to the regions. Let's stem that tide. Let's reverse that tide so that we have more plays and we can break through what this, 4% of plays by Black women playwrights, and where we have to dedicate seasons to she griots. This is a natural extension of what we've been doing, where we are honoring and centering Black storytelling and then using that as a way to give voice to other cultures and other societies. So I'm thankful for you, Letitia, for hearing me out in my crazy idea, almost 2 years ago, to now we're on the precipice of seeing that to be a thing that we hope that can really inspire some change in the American theater.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it, honestly. I think having you and the transition of leadership, it really, there's just the new ideas just spark an excitement, right? Like, yeah, let's keep this going. Let's keep this going. And so I just love the passion that you shared, that you continue to share, and being able to, and also to find my way within that and how I can help all those ideas come to fruition. So it's really exciting.
And like you said, it's such a symbiotic relationship, right? Like, artistic leadership has to be working with their development team and their fundraising team to say the ideas, to ask the questions, to investigate it. Just, it's not just going to happen just because, we want it to happen. We got to really go out and build those relationships, find those prospects and things like that. So, we're going to be sharing a lot of the updates and new things that we're going to be delivering as True Colors to our community on our blog. We just started a blog series. This is True Colors Podcast. We're really creative. That was called True Colors Blog. I'm I'm one who loves alliteration, thus the community conversation and the related readings and things like that. But we are in the time of COVID-19. We just trying to say, hey, this is what it is. Like, come find us. So check out our blog. Yeah. I think we just posted the first blog in response to a New York Times article that was written about the Atlanta theater community. I wrote a little bit of a response to that, but also kind of to open up and introduce people to the series. So please, go check that out. We posted it on Instagram, and on Facebook. So just go to our social media channels, or go to our website. You'll see True Colors Blog on our website. Letitia, what else can we drop? What other things can we share with our audience that we have coming up? What campaigns are we rolling out?
Oh, okay. So you mentioned earlier about Jocelyn Bio, right?
Yep.
And so what we are going to be launching, and it's really just a way for us to interact with our patrons in a specific way and learning from one another virtually. Did I do that? Did you do that?
No, I did that. Sorry, y'all. This is me trying to figure out the technology. I thought I was doing the right thing, but go ahead. My bad.
Oh, I didn't make a mistake. You did. At least not yet.
Yeah,
we still got time for me to make a mistake. The quote that I remember in the video clip that you can go to our website, truecolorstheater.com.org, go to the drop down and say, as you see, we are the magic. And so Jocelyn said, dropped a whole bunch of nuggets in that video clip. But one thing that just stuck with me most was when she said, hey, True Colors, whatever magic that you are doing down here, keep it up, keep it going. Know that it is not going unseen. And I thought, wow, to have someone that has been at different regional theaters across the country to come to True Colors and to say, we have magic. And to know that we have this magic not on our own, but we have this magic because of our patrons, because of our donors, because of our funders. We have this magic for those who come to our audiences because of our artists, right? Together, we collectively are magic. And so right now, we cannot be together at the theater, on stage, at community engagement events, but how can we continue to have community with one another? And so we are starting a campaign that says, together, we are the magic. And so coming together virtually in different ways, supporting as a donor way, so that we can continue to do the things virtually from the podcast and to blogs, to also be able to share virtually engagement opportunities. Next month, we're going to have a community conversation virtually as well too. And so we want to continue to have all these different programs to be able to engage directly with those who create the magic. And so we not only are inviting you all to continue with the She Grills Challenge, if you haven't done that, do that. Sharing with others about what magic that you have experienced. Sharing pictures of yourself at the theater, sharing pictures of being in community with True Colors, so that we can continue and engage with one another and show that we are the magic to the world.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and again, it's not, with this idea, we're not saying that True Colors is somehow magical. We're saying that the people who have supported the work, the staff, the longtime patrons. I mean, we've been around for 17 years, and it's because of all of the love and support that we have received, is that we have found a way to bottle all of that, and that creates the magic of being in this moment and being able to respond to it. So the She Griots who are dropping videos in the challenge, you guys are the magic that makes True Colors move. These interviews with staff, and you'll see more interviews on the blog with staff. You all are the magic that helps this thing move. The Atlanta theater community, we couldn't do it if it wasn't for the Atlanta theater community. You all are the magic as well. So I'm excited to see that, to roll it out, the community conversation, our panelists who help us support the panel conversations, and they share their insight, and they connect directly to the art and allow us to thrive at that intersection. Those panelists, those community members, they are the magic that allows us to do what we do.
I love what you just said, because that was one of the original ideas. Like, how can we bottle up that magic that Jocelyn was talking about, that we experienced here together, share it with one another virtually? And so continuing to engage with us on all the channels, all the community channels, through email, through just saying, hey, how are you doing? Are you doing well? You know, just continuing to engage with one another virtually is how we can continue to bottle up this magic and share it with one another. It's so important because we want to be in community with everyone. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, Letitia, you know, we got about 10 minutes or whatever, and normally this time is when we kind of say like, hey, y'all, if there are any questions, thank you all for listening, for tuning in, however long, if you tuned in for 2 seconds or tuned in for the entire episode, we really appreciate you. Go ahead and drop those questions in here. We'll be sure to answer them as we can, as we scroll. And, you know, we're getting excited for episode number 5. I'll have another special guest next week. We talked about the blog. Go ahead and visit us at truecolorstheater.org. Go ahead and check out True Colors blog. While we know we're IG Live right now, we'll post this soon and very soon on all the other platforms. What else? She Griots Challenge, we talked a little bit about. Upcoming community conversation. We'll do that live as well. Towards, you know, we'll talk a little bit about the August Wilson Monologue Competition, which is the national event that we do. We've had to make some changes to that, so stay tuned here as we'll talk a little bit more about the August Wilson Monologue Competition. So here's not a question, but I thought the schoolgirls play was outstanding. Well, we appreciate it. _ the Brandon Smith. Appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. So many talented artists. Director Tinashe Kajese Bolden. Actresses Malika Holt, Kristen Jeter, Lauren Ashley Richards, Isoke Akanke, Brittany Deneen. You know, this is when I should have stopped naming people. Destiny Freeman, you know, Kristen Jeter. Just want to thank all of it. Charity Jordan. Want to thank you all for just your beautiful work in that show. It meant so much. And our designers, man. Shout out to all of our designers who were working on that show. You guys really made it, and I know that when that's the magic. You guys were the magic. You guys were the things that made people want to come and see the show, experience it, feel like they are in Ghana in 1986. And as an artistic director, it means so much when all those elements come together. So thank you all for that. Letitia, what other nuggets you got for the people? What else? What else can people, you know, come to expect from you, or that you want to share?
Yeah, I am trying to. I just saw a comment. Someone said that they can hear feedback, so let me try to.
Got it.
But it could be my phone.
You know, we're learning with this technology thing, so I definitely appreciated that feedback as well. So, you know, shout out to you who left that comment, and we'll get that fixed moving forward. First off,
so hopefully this is better.
Oh yeah. I think it sounds better too. It says, first off, I love the New Play Lab. Second, would this provide a fellowship opportunity for undergraduate and graduate students? Yeah, so, you know, Nikki Toombs, our Director of Education, is doing a really great job of trying to find more ways for us to build up the next generation of theater makers, whether they be performers through our middle school, high school, and elementary school programs, or whether they be arts administrators in our college internships and apprenticeships. We are in process of trying to figure out better ways to support the next generation. So Nami, I wish I can say right now and drop that, like, yes, we're going to have a graduate internship program or anything like that. You know, soon. Like, there are a lot of colleges and universities in the area, so a lot of potential partnerships that we can build out. Not yet, but soon. Like we talked about, we got to build up that 18-month, you know, at least 18-month pipeline and pathway. So, this germ of the idea that you dropped here with us is something else that we've been thinking about. So, some future stuff. First, we got to get Letitia some help in that development department. First, we got to,
Yes.
first, I got to make that development department from a team of one to a team of at least three, so that, we can, churn out and we can really do the work that we need to do to serve the communities that we want to serve.
And also shout out to Nami. She was an intern at True Colors.
Yeah, Nami.
And she helped in development as well too. So thank you, Nami.
Point Park University.
For all the help.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So shout out to you. Thank you so much. And what I love about our education department too is that it hits on all levels now. Before we were just focused on just the August Guatemala competition because it wasn't, we just didn't have the staff, the capacity, right? And so now with Nikki Toombs as the Director of Education, she's coming in full time and brought in and helped develop with some other theaters the apprenticeship program. And this past year was able to just kick butt with our Page to the Stage program, which is centered for third graders and allowing them to love on theater, A, and then B, be able to translate their love for theater this newfound love for theater to learning and reading and being able to say, hey, I can perform, I can learn, and I can grow in my academic studies all at the same time. And so I think being able to continue to grow those programs as well too is important in the longevity of growing our influence and impact in community as well too. And so those young kids will always forever remember Mrs. Toombs, right? They will always forever remember that performance opportunity. And you saw the kids, they were so excited and for their final performance. And so they will always remember those opportunities. Because I remember when I was in school plays. Yeah. And so I think it's one of those things where we just have to continue to do our work that's necessary to give back and to drop those gems that can help turn the trajectory of an individual of their life and how they see themselves and how they see the world around them. And that's what theater can do. I know that because that's what theater did for me when I was a kid, and that has never changed and will never change. We have to just continue to do that work that we are doing with the youth, and then support others who are doing that work in community, our teaching artists as well too.
Yeah, shout out to the Four Directions apprentices who really, this was the first year of the program. True Colors partnered with 3 other organizations in town. And those Four Direction apprentices, man, they did a bang up, just real kick butt job for us. So thank you for that. And that, like we talked about, NAMI and the summer internship programs and internship programs, those internships and apprenticeships, they mean so much to True Colors. And we know after listening and talking to veterans of the program that it means so much to them. So thank you guys, and thank you to the supporters who help, develop, support and donate to those causes specifically.
Yes, you can always designate your donation directly to education.
Right. You can designate it. So again, y'all, thank you all so very, very much. Letitia, it's been great talking to you. I hope that you've had as much fun as I have. I love these conversations, and I know that our viewers and our patrons really enjoy getting a little bit more knowledge about the organization. Make Letitia's job easier. Go to truecolorstheater.org and donate.
Yes.
Support us. We love to give you the perks that come along with donating. Stay tuned with us. We'll be back here next week, next Thursday at 1 for episode number 5. I'll have another special guest. She Griots Challenge. Don't forget about the She Griots Challenge. We are the magic campaign that we're rolling out. Check out True Colors blog. Y'all, we are trying to bring the content to you all so that you don't have to go very far to find out what we're doing at True Colors and find ways to stay connected to us.
Yes, let's bottle up the magic and share it with one another.
Good stuff, good stuff. Well, thank you all very much. See you all next week. This is Jamil Jude and Letitia Ellerson signing off.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.